hundreds more tanks, and billions of pounds of equipment in place in Saudi Arabia. It was the fastest deployment in United States history and the largest since Vietnam.
Anything you all want to know? If I don't know the answer, I'll just make it up.
One of the chief architects, Stormin Norman. H. Norman Schwarzkopf has that nickname because he throws things when he's angry enough. But this four-star general is also known for his IQ of 170. 2 years ago, he created a contingency plan based on this premise. One Arab country would attack another, forcing America into war. The plan laid out specifics for U.S. troop deployment. After Iraq invaded Kuwait, General Schwarzkopf reached for his plan and presented it. A key reason America was able to respond almost immediately.
There was never any doubt in my mind that we were going to get air superiority very quickly. We were going to control the air, but what I needed was tank killers in here. And now I got the tank killers in here, and I got the people that are going to maintain them and keep them flying, and we're all feeling a lot better about the situation. Let's face it, if he dares come across that border and come down here, I'm completely confident that we're going to kick his butt when he gets here. And it's going to be because of you folks right here.
We're counting on you.
Selling the plan was the mission of Stormin Norman's two bosses, General Colin Powell, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and Dick Cheney, Secretary of Defense. Powell, the first black and the youngest man to rise to the nation's highest military post, had been a national security advisor to President Reagan.
I'd like to see this thing solved peacefully. We've got no desire to go out and hurt a bunch of Iraqis. We've got no desire to get any of our folks hurt.
The New York-born son of Jamaican immigrants calls himself just a foot soldier. Some say he's more than that. Maybe a vice president one day.
If hostilities begin, there's only one possible outcome that's acceptable, and that's absolute total victory.
Cheney, a proven politician, was chief of staff for President Ford. In the House of Representatives, he was Republican whip. Powell and Cheney convinced the president to send troops immediately, lots of troops. America's arsenal of might was rolled out.
We would be using capabilities that were far more lethal, far more accurate, and far more effective than anything we have ever used before.
Some of America's new high-tech weaponry had never been battle-tested. The Tomahawk cruise missile fired from the sea. Manufacturers said it could travel from Boston Harbor to RFK Stadium in Washington and pass through the goalposts. But with lives on the line, would it score every time? Or the Patriot, the anti-missile missile. Could it take on and destroy a Soviet-built Scud?
Okay, now you can see the big picture there where the range is. I'm going to scale down. I'm going to freeze that map.
Or would sophisticated computers and radar aboard America's wide array of fighters and bombers hold up after thousands of sorties? On paper, the Abrams tank is the world's finest. Equipped with chemical and biological protection for the crew and ammunition capable of penetrating the Iraqi tanks. But could the Abrams be stopped by fine desert sand? The Army's Apache helicopter, fast, accurate, can fight at night and in bad weather. But delicate sensors in its nose had never been exposed to desert heat every day. The foot soldiers are equipped with an improved M16 rifle with twice the range of the Iraqis' AK-47 and twice as many parts. Sand could be a problem.
Right, talk to me.
A most important unknown, the men and women who would be operating all this destructive equipment. Well-trained, but few had tasted battle. They would face an army of 1 million, thousands of tanks and thousands of artillery pieces, chemical weapons, and above all, veterans of the Iran-Iraq War.
I want peace, not war. But if there must be war,
We will not permit our troops to have their hands tied behind their backs.
The Commander-in-Chief's assurances had a pumping up effect, and without the first sign of death, the nation burst into patriotic fervor not felt or expressed since World War II.
We cannot allow any dictator ruler to ruthlessly invade another country and torture and kill its inhabitants. There's a danger of non-involvement, of apathy.
We are running out of these. I've been trying on the phone all day trying to get more of them. There seems to be a lot of support.
Patriotism became as commercialized as Christmas. Despite a recession, people were buying, and manufacturers of war keepsakes couldn't seem to meet the national demand. But as the weeks passed, popularity polls showed a steady drop in the president's ratings. The adrenaline surge was over. Americans pondered the horrors of war. Rapid sales of gas masks in surplus stores, a sign of growing fears of terrorism.
You got your mask, you may be a survivor.
And Americans felt sorrow for the thousands of families split up by the sudden call to arms. The Petersons, both in the military, had to leave their 17-month-old son behind.
For a mother to leave her child, it's one of the hardest things to do.
No, he's waving goodbye.
Come here, babies. Come on. Come on, babies. Come on. I had a problem after kids grew up and got grown. I had a problem hauling in 1,000 bales of hay putting up in yonder, you know.
Yeah, but no, you're not here. I do all these things myself.
In Clay County, Alabama, Monroe and Flossie Wood watched as 8 family members went off to war.
You know, sometimes something has come across my mind, and it tells me, say, that you're not gonna see your children anymore.
The patriotic spirit in this rural county, with its monument to fallen soldiers of past wars, was strained as never before.
You got to look after each other. So please take care of your buddy.
The president's November call-up was for 100,000 more GIs, changing America's military stance from defensive to offensive. The shield was now becoming a sword.
It ain't worth it. It ain't worth the life of one of my boys. I'll get killed for the oil. Let them have it.
I don't understand because of the fighting, if it does happen to fighting over the oil. But right now, I don't think we should be there, but if they call, then I have to support the military.
Good night. No. Won't be tonight.
Got to have my baby with me.
He took Billy away from me with the Lionel unit, and then Daddy and Uncle Leon and John David and all them away this time. You'll get through, baby.
How you doing?
I just want him to be here.
National Guard units headed out from Clay County with Thanksgiving and Christmas just ahead.
It's like you're just going through the motions. You can't, you hear Christmas songs and you think of the past Christmases, and it's just real special for families.
Good luck to you, fellas. Good luck. Good to see all of you.
The president worked to boost morale and underscore resolve. He spent Thanksgiving with the troops. His approval rating had sagged to its lowest level since Iraq invaded Kuwait.
People at home say, we don't need more Vietnam. That's right. There won't be any. If anybody's asked to fight, you're going to fight and win.
Some politicians, sensing America's new concerns, reacted to the president's call-up of additional troops with anger. They argued the president was sending the nation to war without the consent of Congress, an unconstitutional act.
If anything is clear about the Constitution, it is that, as Abraham Lincoln said, the Constitution was written precisely to ensure that no one man should hold the power of bringing this oppression upon us.
We ought to send a clear signal here that there's a willingness and a resolve to threaten the use of force in a credible way.
And in the street, what had been small outbursts of anti-war feelings grew larger. Still the minority, but now a factor in the public debate over how far the country should go.
No blood for oil! No blood for oil! No blood for oil! 1, 2, 3, 4! Here, 121! 5, 6, 7, 8! We will have to operate! What do we want?
Where's the guns? What are you guys burning the flag for?
You don't like this country? Get the hell out. I'll buy you tickets. This is our country too. That's right. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? What do we want? Now.
What right do we have to go into another country, put troops there, and say, yes, we are the guardians of freedom. We are guarding our economic interests.
We are there for peace. We are there because peace has got to be done at all costs.
Hey, hey, ho, ho, George Bush has got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, George Bush has got to go.
The president tried to allay the country's fears by vowing the crisis in the Gulf would never become another Vietnam. But in Congress, not everyone was convinced.
To those of us for whom Vietnam remains much more than just a distant memory, there are analogies which create deep-seated doubts over the apparent willingness of this administration's rush to war.
If we show a lack of resolve, this Congress will be sending the wrong message to the world, which could encourage others to copy what Hussein has done.
In dedicating the battlefield at Gettysburg, our greatest Republican president, Abraham Lincoln, said, "We here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain." President Bush cannot make that statement if he goes to war on the indefensible timetable he has set.
We have the power to declare war. What we do not have is the power to make war. The President, ladies and gentlemen, must be able to deal with foreign hostilities with a free hand.
In a close vote,
the yeas are 52 and the nays are 47.
the president's action would ultimately be endorsed. America listened, analyzed, agonized, and prayed. The deadline for war approached. Americans beat back the ghost of Vietnam and zeroed in on Saddam Hussein. Defeating him would be worth the bloody battle, provided the fight is quick and the casualties low.
Question is, are we just going to fight in Kuwait, or are we going to level Baghdad? No comment.
Mr. Saddam Hussein, you can simply do what the world is calling upon you to do. Get out.
January 11th, Secretary of State James Baker with Air Force pilots in Saudi Arabia. The U.S.-led coalition is war-ready. So are these pilots. Ready to test their cunning